Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. My name is Erik. Joining me is Robert. We are both teachers with LSAT Demon. Today we got an email from Noah.
Noah writes, Ben and Nathan, or Erik and Robert, I love your advice and have worked hard on accuracy, understanding, and attacking the passages. I'm really good at drilling. I'm consistently hitting 20, 30 questions at 100% accuracy before I miss one.
Awesome.
It's nice. I feel like I'm excelling rapidly in my understanding of the test. When I take practice tests, I suck. Ooh. Last year, I got a 160 on the official test, and now I often get lower than that on my PTs. The odd thing is that I really take your advice seriously. I don't finish sections, and I feel like I'm going slowly, ignoring the clock, and understanding the questions. I assume I just need to stay the course, and I'll naturally get better. But man, it's frustrating when I feel calm and confident in my understanding of passages and on the PT, and then the score ends up making me question my strategy. My diagnostic was a 140. Have I reached the end of my potential? Do you think I am just on a plateau? How do I get my drilling to reflect my PTs? Thanks and praise the demon. What do you think about that, Erik?
Lots of great questions in there. I will cut to the chase and say, no, you have not reached the end of your potential. And Robert here is a good example. Remind the listeners what your score journey was, Robert.
Why are you doing that to me, man?
Inspiration for our friend Noah here. Look, there was a point at which you could have easily said, look at all this progress I've made. I could stop here at 160.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that.
137, Noah. 137. I was just with DEMA student Raven. Just did her success story with you, Erik, not too long ago. Just posted. I put in the chat, go team 137.
Here we go.
Absolutely.
And that was a 137 to a 176. Maybe too modest to say that, but I'll say it for you. So
we get lucky.
There is no lucking your way into a 176. But yeah, so Noah, no, you have not reached the end of your potential. You can definitely keep improving. But to your other question, how are we going to translate your accuracy on drilling into a score that you're more happy with on your PTs? Thoughts on that, Robert?
Well, first, I think perspective is everything, right? I would say first, congrats on the plateau in the 160s. I say congrats because you started in the 140s and you earned the right to be in the 160s. My question, though, is what did you do to get that 20-point improvement, right? I mean, what was it that you did or didn't do as a 140 score that you had to alter and change and learn and grow and evolve to then become the 160 score? Because whenever you were that 140 score, you were doing things that were probably not helpful. And you didn't even know there were things about the test that were even going to be challenging yet. I mean, there were things about the test you didn't even know. And one of the things I find fascinating is as we get better at anything, part of the price we pay for success is experiencing new problems for the first time that we didn't even know were a thing. And I think the next level to get from a 160 on, I think it also takes more perspective too. I mean, 170s. I mean, is that what we're saying now? You're stuck in the 160s. I don't even know if stuck's the right word. I just think we just haven't figured out what it is that you either need to do differently to become the 170 score. Mm-hmm. So what does a 170 score do differently? What is it that you need to stop doing as a 160 score that a 170 score wouldn't do? Mm-hmm. And I just think we haven't found that yet. But it doesn't mean it can't be found. I mean, just because we don't have evidence for it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Santa's real. But it's, I think one of the things that Noah has an opportunity to do is to take stock in the fact that you had a 20-point improvement. Yeah. You have the capacity for further growth. and take time to figure out what it is to be a 170 scorer.
Yeah. Great advice to have that perspective, to be proud of the progress that you've made so far, and clean up that self-talk just a little bit, Noah. You say in this email, when I take practice tests, I suck. I know it's disappointing to feel like you've been stuck there for a while, but I think find a way of embracing the little victories that you do still have every day on this test. And you don't suck. You're just, consolidating what it is that you're good at. And like Robert said, still searching for that thing that's going to put you over the edge. I mean, athletes go through the same thing where you can reframe a performance plateau, not as you're stuck somewhere or that you suck right now, but just you're consolidating and you're getting ready to make that next step. So see if you can think of it that way. But that said, we should think about what is it that might allow you to take that next step. And I have a theory based on the fact that, okay, cool. Sounds like you have embraced accuracy over speed. You're not worrying about the time on these practice tests. Hopefully not. I mean, we all do in the back of our heads a little bit. And I'm going to take you at your word that you are not rushing at all to finish these questions in these sections. But that's not the only thing that we can do differently on practice tests. The flip side that we can get into trouble with is spending too much time on wrong answers or being a little too worried about accuracy to the point where we're overthinking things, giving wrong answers too much respect. So I feel like that's maybe what might be happening with Noah.
I want to dovetail on what you're talking about there, because if we keep it in the realm of athletics, I mean, we need some perspective, Noah. I think we have to look at what is a 170 score? What is a mid 170 score? That's 99th percentile, right? So we talk about 170s plus so much around the LSAT. It's everybody wants to get in the 170s, and I think it's important then to get the perspective of what that means. That's like anybody who ever picked up a basketball saying, "I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame." Forget making my high school team. Forget, maybe going to college and playing. Forget even making it to the NBA. No, I'm going to the Hall of Fame. Now, I love the enthusiasm, but you're not going to the Hall of Fame unless you're putting in Hall of Fame work, right? We got to remember, was the LSAT testing? One of the things LSAT testing is how hard we're willing to work. And Noah, only you can answer, are you putting in 170 scorer work? Are you putting in 99th percentile LSAT scorer work? That means you're working harder than 99% of everybody else. I think we have to think about that. And also, you think about, that's like saying, I'm going to go do what Kobe does. Well, for Kobe to make it to the Hall of Fame, Kobe put in that work. I mean, that's one of the things Kobe's notorious for putting in that kind of work, right? And I think if we take a look at that, what was one of Kobe's biggest things? Attention to detail. If you want to be a Hall of Fame level LSAT scorer, are you approaching it the way a Hall of Fame LSAT scorer would? Are you really digging in and understanding, the mistakes that you're making? Are you fully aware of why the wrong answer was wrong and how you failed to identify the correct answer, and what was it about the wrong answer that got you? And was there something in the passage that you misread, or was there something that you just misunderstood? Do you have a solid approach? Are you taking that approach consistently with you to every single LR question, or is it inconsistent? I mean, I think there's a plethora of things to start cataloging as you go through and say, hey, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? And it's not to overanalyze. And I think that's one of the things that we can fall into that trap too. Recently working with one of the Demon students who are breaking into the, trying to get into that mid 170s. They're actually struggling with lower level questions. Why? Because they're doing so much drilling they're getting, all the level 4s and 5s in the world. And I remember on test day myself, I had to check myself about question 4. And I was like, I am spending too much time on these questions. They're easy. Let them be easy. I earned the right for them to be easy. Stop overthinking them. These are easy. Just sat with a student an hour ago. They were struggling with sufficient assumption. We pulled out a level 5 sufficient assumption, but we were in prediction mode. I love being in prediction mode because I just want to focus on the one thing at a time. Again, back to fundamentals. Are you mastering your basics? And do you have your system? But we went through, we attacked the passage. He figured it out. He knew it. He identified it right away. Got to the question, obviously sufficient assumption, and one by one, throwing answers away. There was our answer right there in D. We get to D, hit the answer, out we go. Come to find out it's a level 5. And he's like, level 5? We both are like, level 5? That was simple, right?
Yeah.
But I think that then goes back to it's simple because we hit the question with our approach. We knew what we were doing. We had our system. We followed our plan. We were consistent all the way through, and we get to the outcome that we're looking for. And along the way, just like Kobe would, is our footwork right? Is our shoulder dipped the right way? Are we, are we looking off this way? Or are we telegraphing this over here? That level of detail and that level of intentional work is what the greats do, no matter what business, profession, sport, art, anything. That's what separates that level. And here we have somebody saying, I want to be a 99% scorer or 1% scorer. Only they can answer, are we doing 1% work? And if we are, you'll get there. And so I think it's a big thing, is our big opportunity is what are we doing at 160s that 170s wouldn't do? And what could we be doing now in the 160s that 170 scores do? And we get good at that. That's our next opportunity. You'll be in the 170s before you know it.
Yeah. I love what you said about, love all of that. But if I could sum up, putting in that work and paying attention to those details so you get to the place where you can let the LSAT be easy.
Absolutely.
And that is, I think, Noah, what we're looking for is, can you accept that those easy ones are actually easy? Now, it doesn't mean you get to slack off on those. You still have to be sharp on those. You still got to focus. But when you do that, when reading the arguments and reading the passage, and you go in with a clear idea of what you're looking for in the answer choices, it gets to be easy at that point. And my big suspicion, if you feel like you are really accurate on time, but when it comes to practice tests, you're not putting it together, my suspicion is that you are not trusting the plan that got you your prediction, or you're not trusting that when an answer choice looks bad, it's because it's bad. You've gotten to the point where you've earned the right to just really hate some of these answer choices. Trust that. Don't overthink that. Get rid of those answer choices quickly and stick to your guns. So,
yeah, if you learn one thing, if you train intentionally, right? It doesn't matter how long you train for. Show up one day, maybe you only have time to do 5 questions. Show up another day, you can do 40. But it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Can you get up from the table and say, I learned something today? If you can make just that one step towards in progress, just that one thing, you find that one thing that you learned today, and then you bring it with you to the LSAT tomorrow, right? Eventually, just how it works is you're going to be further along than you were. I mean, you were a 140, you got to, and I think that's the other thing that you said, about the self-talk. Congratulations that you're in the 160s, first of all, right? And welcome to the 160 show. Heck now yeah. You get to, you earn the right to struggle with all of the same obstacles that every 160 scorer struggled with. I promise you there's not a single obstacle you're struggling with that Eric and I didn't struggle with too when we were in the 160s. Mm-hmm. I promise you there isn't. And guess what? There's going to be more. There's things about the test as a 160 scorer you haven't learned yet. I promise. There's going to be new things. You're gonna be the next emails. Noah's gonna be, I'm stuck in the low 170s. I can't get past. It's gonna be, we're all gonna get there, right?
Yeah. How do I break out of this 176, 177 plateau?
Yeah, and I think about this as now being on the other side of the screen, right? And all of the times being in the ask button or being in the teaching classes, and as much as from the other side of the screen, being involved with the LSAT. If I went back to take another LSAT, the approach that I had back then is even further refined and even further improved. Mm-hmm. Because now I have to do even more questions than just normal. I'm in the ask button, and Eric, we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. When we get an ask button request, the first thing I do is I go do a question. I do the question. I don't even read so like we tell the students, mm-hmm. don't read the question stem. We just read the passage. We do that on ask button. I don't read the ask button question because it'll only confuse me, right? I need to just go do the question.
And
if you do that too,
some questions more than others when the student brings their confusion, which thank you for asking those questions. Yeah. But we have to read the question, or we have to read the LSAT question first to understand it before we can get to your question and then figure out
do the question.
What it is we can help. Yes.
Read the passage, approach it the way we would on a test. I mean, however we do it. And, I'm going to do the question. I'm going to go through, find it out. Okay, this makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. Then go to the answer then go to the ask button, because then I'm going to have to figure out where the disconnect. So just like, the conclusion isn't proven with the evidence in the passage. Well, my evidence is the entire LSAT question. Mm-hmm. And I got to go then to the ask button, to its conclusion and go, here's your flaw. You're failing to consider this, or you're equivocating these terms. That's this, or, but I think you just misread the other thing, and then it's the same thing.
Because it's amazing if you read the student question first, and the question is something like, well, wouldn't you say like these two words don't mean the same thing, right? Isn't it unfair for them to say this word in the premise and this word in the conclusion? Right. And that's their question. And it might be a great question. But if you then go into the LSAT question, to the argument with that in mind, it's like this distraction where suddenly all you can think about is these two words and you're missing what the whole point was in the first place. So same reason why we say don't read the question first on the exam is because it's going to infect you with this idea of like what it is that's important and what you should be looking for, when really if you just read for the main point, ask common sense questions, that's the way you get there. But
guess what, Noah? The first ask button questions, do you know how long it would take me to respond to an ask button? Because I didn't have that process. I didn't have that system. I wasn't prepared for questions that are more common than others because I was experiencing it all for the first time. So I was being presented with obstacles and challenges that I didn't even know were a thing. So I didn't have answers for them. And I could just say, oh my gosh, the ask button's so hard. No, the ask button's fun. I like working in the ask button. I mean, it's very fulfilling for me personally. I hope you guys throw in more. Abigail's going to hate me. I hope they throw in more questions because it's fun. It's another level of LSAT puzzle that I love to play. It's almost like a game within the game, right?
Yeah. It helps you realize how deep even some of the quote unquote easy questions are, right? Because the number of times there's been a question that I might have looked at and thought, oh, easy.
Yeah.
Cool. I got this, whatever. And then the student will ask their question and I'll realize I didn't even think about that. And that's a really good question. and this is actually way more complicated than I thought it was. There's just, I think to your point about how you're in the 160s and you have 160s problems, eventually you're going to be in the 170s and you've got 170s problems. Yeah. There's always more to learn with this test. Always more to learn.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
you got more stuff coming, you know? And so again, congratulations.
Yeah. That's from a Will Ferrell movie, right?
Absolutely. The Campaign.
Yeah. I've never seen that.
He looked over at Zach Galifianakis and he goes, welcome to the show. Can't say it. PG-13.
Right. Because we never swear on the LSAT Demon Daily podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. We need an LSAT class. Welcome to the show. You know, and that's the name of the class. That's it. That's what we need to do. And it's all about let's show you how easy these hard questions really are. They're really easy.
I like that.
And if you have the right approach and the discipline to stay consistent and the willingness to go back to the game film in your review and figure out the 2 mistakes you made on every question you got wrong. Mm-hmm. Why'd you pick the wrong answer? And why did you fail to pick the right answer? Right? Mm-hmm. And just simplify it, but be intentional about the study. And if there's anything that we can do that all of us can get better on, it's understanding that get good at one more thing today. Learn one more thing. That's it. That's the goal. If you do it in 5 questions, congratulations, you win. If it takes you 15, 20, 30 questions, okay? Don't get up from the table until you learn something. Mm-hmm. Something. I don't care how insignificant, because we're looking for progress, not perfection. That progress will add up. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. Can't cram for the LSAT. So find that one thing every day. Intentional study. One thing every day.
You got this, Noah. Keep it up.
You got it.
All right, thanks. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.